Having a rough time? Not sleeping? Spending most of the day feeling like it's the end of the world? Can't ever see yourself feeling okay again? Fed up of all your friends telling you time's the best healer? In today's video, I'm going to show you why they are 100% right and just how time does heal everything. So, if you're like me, you probably hit some rough points in your life where it feels like it's the end of the world. You're in so much pain, it physically hurts you, and you can't see yourself feeling happy ever again in your life. Now, I remember just how bad it felt when my first ever girlfriend cheated on me. In the first few months of finding out, I was in so much pain. From the moment I woke up to the moment I passed out at night because I couldn't sleep. The pain was just, it was agony. Constantly just thinking about it all day long, feeling like it's the end of the world, nothing is ever going to get better. Why me? Bit of victim mentality in there as well. You put all this on top of each other, and all of a sudden you find your whole day is consumed by thinking about this negative thing that's happened in your life. Here's the thing, this big red ball you see bouncing back and forth, this represents the person or the thing that is causing you so much pain. The thing that is always on your mind. So if you imagine in your head, this thing or this person, it's constantly bouncing around. But remember, this button is very sensitive, and this thought, or this ball in this case, is very heavy, and it hits this button very often. If you're going through this right now, you'll understand it feels like this button is being constantly pressed. For example, if you're missing someone who's just passed away recently, you know, seeing pictures of them, or going places where they would have been, you're going to miss them, and this trigger is going to get pushed. During the first 5-6 months after finding out, I was a state. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. Everything I saw, everything I was doing, everything I watched on television, all the songs I heard, everything was making this trigger, was hitting this trigger. So every time it hit, I just kept feeling the same pain over and over again. And as you know, if you're watching this video and you're going through something similar, that pain is very, very real, and it does hurt. The smallest thing would trigger it, and it would bring you straight back in, and it would just hurt over and over again, constantly, throughout the day. You know, every hour of every day, the pain was there, and it felt like it was never going to go away. Over time, this big red ball is going to break down, get smaller, it's going to move slower, and it's going to stop hitting that trigger as often and stop hitting that trigger as hard. So before, when it's on your mind 24/7, now it's only on your mind maybe 18 hours a day or 16 hours a day. There's a definite decrease in how often this trigger is getting hit. We did stay together for quite a number of years afterwards. During this time, obviously the balls now were a lot smaller. They were still hitting, but it wasn't every day. It was like, you know, it was every other day, then it was every week maybe, then every other week, and then maybe once a month, and then maybe out of the blue, sometimes I would just like have a heart attack. Now over time, this big ball that you started with is going to break down into smaller balls, and eventually, after an undetermined amount of time, they're going to break down into tiny balls. These tiny balls, they're here to stay. They're never going to go away. But instead of being this big, they're now this big. The smallest balls you've ever seen in your life. 2 tiny balls. Tiny, tiny, tiny balls. And when these balls are so small and so tiny, and they hit that trigger, nothing happens. Nothing at all. All that happens is you remember the event, and there's no emotional reaction to it, because that trigger does not move. The balls are so small, or the event or the person is so irrelevant now, it does nothing to trigger an emotional response from you. Eventually, this big red ball, or you know, this person, this event, this thing that's been causing you so much pain, as you can see, it does break down and it does get easier. And I'm sure if you think back to a time in your life where you felt really, really bad, you'll be able to relate to what I've just been telling you. If you're having a rough time right now, and it feels like it's the end of the world, and you're never going to be happy again, please understand, time does heal everything. Now, there are things we can do to help speed this time frame up. There are also things we can do that are going to hinder this progress and make it a lot slower. That's for another video. But today, my biggest advice for you would be, if you are going through these kind of things, do not be afraid to sit down and process how you feel. Unfortunately, in this day and age, we have this macho thing where it's not okay to be not okay. But let me tell you, it's okay to not be okay. You have to sit down. You have to be able to sit down and process what you are going through. It's the only way you're going to heal completely. Unfortunately, a lot of us will live in denial and we will push our problems under the carpet, and eventually they'll catch up with us and it hurts a lot more. That's for another video. I've been there myself before. You don't address certain issues and over time they build up, and when they do crash down, it hurts. It hurts a lot. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel. And if you want me to cover any specific topics, just let me know in the comments below. I forgave her. We stayed together for a while. Martha? Martha? Martha! Anyway.